Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Storytime Sundays. As always, this is Dreams Made Real 2016, and I am going to continue reading The Peasant Girl and the Mummy Prince for you all. Alright, so here we go. Chapter 3, It All Makes Sense. 15 years later. December 24th, 2011. Dear Journal, well, I can't believe I turned 23 today. It feels like only yesterday when Mother first told me I had mitochondrial disease. I was just so overwhelmed that I didn't want to make any friends, knowing that I was going to die eventually. Then I turned 8 and met the Croquettes, and they helped to properly educate me. Who knows how I would have turned out if they weren't there to tidy me up, so to speak. After all my lessons were done, I was allowed to see Juan. He became a real dear friend to me throughout the years. I could always be able to talk to him about almost everything. Juan became somehow very important to me, and I don't know what I'd do without him. I paused there for a moment in my journal and sighed. No matter how hard I tried, Juan could always get under my skin. Whenever he got me to talk about something I didn't want to talk about, he would always have a triumphant little smile on his face. However, when I would try to talk to him about love or feelings, he would change the subject. I knew when I turned 16 that I had developed feelings for him. To be completely honest, I fell for him at that first meeting. Juan had a way of always setting me at ease whenever I wasn't comfortable around him. Melina, breakfast is ready. I made your favorite. Come on down when you're ready, Melina. I sigh again and start to head down the steps. I turn to go into the kitchen when a familiar female voice naps my attention. Bonjour, Mademoiselle Melina, Jocelyn says in greeting. I smile and reply with Bonjour, Jocelyn. Again, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing them. Melina, my mother begins saying, while she sits down on the couch. Jocelyn came over here to tell you something important. I'll let the two of you have your talk. If you need me, I'll be in the kitchen. Then she gets up and leaves Jocelyn and me alone. We sit there in silence for a moment until it starts to get really awkward, which is really weird. I've never felt awkward around Jocelyn. Her husband Raymond, on the other hand, her husband Raymond maybe, but he still intimidates the heck out of me. Juan thinks I'm funny for feeling that way around him, but I just can't help it. Jocelyn clears her throat to catch my attention. Melina, I have some things that are extremely important, so you must try to understand all of this, and please don't get frightened by it. The reason I need to tell you all of this, Melina, is that we think you are the one whom we were looking for a very long time. I puzzle over what she's just said. Despite what she said about not to get frightened, I am very afraid. I don't understand what you mean. How could I be the special one that you've been seeking? Also, what do you mean that you were searching for me for a long time? Just how old are you all? I start shaking. I can't help it. Jocelyn comes over to where I sit and starts stroking my hair the way that Mother used to when I was having a bad dream. That is all the more reason for an explanation, Mel. I just don't know how to frame the words so that I don't frighten you. A tear starts rolling down Jocelyn's face. I am ashamed of my reaction toward her. This woman has done nothing to me except give me kindness, and I treat her like dirt. She's trying to tell me something very important, so I take a deep breath and turn to face her. I'm sorry, Jocelyn. I didn't mean to sound cruel. Jocelyn smiles a little and says, on the contrary, I expected you to react like that. Anyway, I'll try to answer all of your questions. Just try to have a little patience with me, okay? First off, Raymond, Juan, and I are a lot older than we look. You see, Raymond is actually 152 years old. I'm only 150, and Juan is 129. As soon as I grasp all that Jocelyn has just said, I begin to scream. Just then, Mother and Father come rushing into the room. What happened? What's wrong, honey? I don't answer. I can't even form a coherent thought. I'm shaking so badly that it feels like the ground is shaking along with me. Jocelyn starts stroking my hair again. I'm really sorry. I have to tell you everything this way, Melina. I always wanted to tell you, but Juan insisted that I should wait until you got more comfortable around us. I try to get a hold of my emotions again. Everything's getting more and more confusing by the minute. I take a deep breath, then another one, until I feel calm enough to speak. Jocelyn, may you please tell me the whole story before I go insane? Jocelyn giggles a little, sighs, and then begins with, "It all happened a long time ago. 1882 to be exact. That was the year Raymond and I first met, and we later found out that there was to be an arranged marriage between us. I was the Princess of Spain, and he was the Prince of France. Though through our marriage, it was supposed to help make amends in the trading industry of France and Spain. You see, when I was 19, my father thought the King of France had double-crossed him, and he stopped the spice trading until he got what he thought he deserved. In the end, it turned out that France didn't really double-cross him, and after a while, our economy started to suffer. Spice trading was a big boost in our economy back then, and when my father stopped it, people were out of work. They couldn't afford to plant food, and eventually they started dying from lack of nutrition. After a while, father became desperate and begged for the king's forgiveness. Raymond's father would only agree if my father would arrange a marriage between Raymond and me. Finally, my father agreed, and a few months later the wedding was held. A year later, I found out that I was pregnant with Juan. After he was born, people around our neighboring countries brought in gifts out of respect for his birth. Just then, the evil enchanter Hailmont came from out of nowhere and started heading toward Juan. I said to him, "Hailmont, what business do you have here?" Hailmont turned his head to look at me and smiled. "Why, hello to you too, Jocelyn. It was nice of you to invite me to the wedding, chérie." "Hailmont, what do you want? If you want to present a gift for Juan, then just give it and leave." Hailmont smiled wider and said, "Very well, if you wish. But my gift isn't just for Juan, it's for the whole family." Just then Hailmont walked over to Juan and said the following words: "Those who have the royal blood under this roof shall forever live so long as no fair maiden of a strong will break the curse of the great enchanter Hailmont. King Raymond and Queen Jocelyn shall never grow old and never die so long as the young Prince Juan is remained a mummy." Then there was a cloud of blackness, and then Hailmont disappeared, and I never saw or heard from him again. Jocelyn sighs and continues. That night everything was normal, but the next day Jocelyn pauses for a moment, and that's when I notice she has tears running down her face. Jocelyn takes a deep breath and continues. The next day was when we noticed that Juan wasn't a baby anymore, but a decaying corpse. So he knew that Hailmont had been successful. In the end, he got the last laugh, and we're stuck living on and on. When she finishes, she looks over at me and smiles. "Do you have any questions for me, Mel?" I think for a while, trying to digest of what she just said. Then I ask, "If it's all right to ask this, I'd like to know why Hailmont randomly picked you, Raymond, and Juan to curse." Jocelyn sighs and she stares out the window for a while. Eventually, she turns her head to look at me again. "Hailmont wanted me to marry him so that he could become King of Spain. Because I married Raymond, he got furious and seemed determined to get his revenge. In the end, it turned out that once he found out that Raymond and I had a son, Hailmont seemed obsessed with getting his revenge on Juan too." I digest that information, say quietly, "I'm sorry, Jocelyn. You and Raymond and Juan shouldn't have had to go through all of that. Just because he wanted to be king and you were engaged to someone else does not give that person reason to be such a big jerk." Jocelyn laughs. "On the contrary, it turns out to be even better than what we first thought. We all got a chance to meet you, Melina. You are like a daughter to me. Despite all what we've been through, it was worth it in the end." I smile a little, but then my eyes start to get watery. "May I please be excused?" Jocelyn smiles a little and gently pats me on the head. Bien sûr, vous pouvez. Of course you may. I nod, get up off the couch, go upstairs into my room, and start crying. Oh, Juan, how could you do this to me? After all the talks we had, you couldn't share this secret with me. After all these years of you and your family keeping the secret from me, why did you do this to me when I love you? Chapter 4, The Prince is Revealed. When I finally get a hold of my emotions, I go downstairs to find that Jocelyn is still sitting on the couch. Jocelyn turns her head when she sees me and smiles. How are you feeling, Melina? I smile a little. G. Me says Minington. Jocelyn, I'm sorry to have run off like that. Excuse me, I need a drink. Jocelyn smiles slightly and nods. It's not easy accepting the truth from the people you thought you knew. Then she abruptly turns her head, looking hesitant. Melina, Juan told me to tell you that he would like to speak with you if you're not too mad at him to see him. It takes me a while to decide if I want to talk to Juan or not. Meanwhile, I see that Mother is talking quietly to Father on the couch in the corner. I sigh, all right, Jocelyn, I'll go and talk with Juan, but he has a lot of explaining to do. Jocelyn nods her head and rises up off the couch. As we head out the door, Mother and Father call out to me. I stop, mouth that I will talk to them later, and leave behind Jocelyn. When we reach our destination, I gasp in shock at the building ahead of us. The house has somehow gotten bigger and changed shape. Now, how in the world does the house get bigger, much less change its shape? It was bigger than we were used to around here before, but sheesh, this is a castle the size of the sky. Aloud I asked, Jocelyn, are you sure this is your house? It looks different from before. Jocelyn looks over in my direction and answers. This is the way it always looked. You are just seeing it this way now because you know the truth about us. How did you expect us to fit everything in the way it looked before? She laughs. I can't seem to help but giggle. Since you put it that way, I guess not everything would fit in. We walk through the door and I start to head towards Juan's suite. Just when I'm about to turn the bend, Jocelyn pulls me back in beside her. I'm sorry, Melina, but unless you want to see his appearance in broad daylight, I suggest you wait till nightfall. Jocelyn, how do you expect me to believe what you said is true? That's why I have to see him now. You do understand how important that is to me, right, Jocelyn? Jocelyn nods and lets me go. I walk into the hallway, walk up the right stairwell, and turn into the direction that will lead me into Juan's bedroom. When I reach his door, I knock lightly so he will know that it's me. I hear a soft come in and I enter the room. Once inside, I am surprised at first to see the room flooded with sunlight. Standing in one of the corners is Juan. At least I think it's Juan. At that moment, the figure turns its body and speaks. Melina, I'm so glad that you will give me a chance to explain myself. I hope that Mother didn't enrich you with too many boring details, ma chérie. I giggle a little, then I sigh. At first, when your mother told me the whole story, I was so mad, hurt, and betrayed. After I had time to cool down, I thought it over, and I think I know your reasons for you not telling me yourself. What I want to know is why you didn't trust me enough to tell me the whole story yourself instead of having your mother do it. Juan pauses for a second or two and sighs. Ma chérie, I wanted to tell you, but I didn't want to show myself in public. That's one of the reasons why Mother went over to your house. As I'm thinking this over, a thought occurs to me. Wait a minute, Juan, why didn't you ask your mother to pick me up for you to tell me yourself? You needed to be prepared for the combinations that you're facing now. I didn't want you to get scared away, Princessy. I laughed and then I abruptly stopped. I'm sorry, Juan. I didn't mean to do that. Juan smiles a little. On the contrary, I wanted you to do that. It gives my old heart joy to know that I have yet to frighten you off. I laugh again and answer sarcastically. Juan, if you haven't noticed yet, I don't get scared off easily. Juan comes closer to me and says, then I'll have to find a way then, won't I? As Juan is stalking closer to me, I automatically start backing up. Juan looks down at my retreating feet, then back up to look into my face and smiles. What's the matter, mon cher? Am I frightening off the great defenseur? I shake up my headline. I can't freaking read. I shake my head no and smile. Dans stress revés, I answer back. As Juan continues his assault on me, I decide to change tactics. I freeze in place and wait for Juan to reach my position. When Juan stops an inch away from me, he starts to lean toward my ear. Are you scared yet, my douche? Juan starts to lean down towards my neck. All the while, I'm fighting a losing battle with my senses. Juan knows all my weak spots. Starts to nuzzle on my neck. I can feel my resistance slipping away. How about now, Melina? Juan lifts his head to whisper against my cheek. I shake my head numbly. I feel Juan smile against my cheek, and he starts drifting towards my mouth. Creves-moi, Melina. I know how to make you succumb to my ways. Juan whispers before he lightly grabs my head and starts kissing me. At first, I'm kissing him back, but when I realize what he is trying to do, I break off abruptly. Il ne va pas travailler, Juan. Like I told you earlier, I'm very hard to scare off. Juan pulls back and raises an eyebrow. I don't know. It seems to me that I didn't manage to do something. Am I right, Melina? I turn my head to look at something other than him, but fail in the process. Juan lifts a mummified hand to my face and starts stroking lightly. For some reason I can't explain, I slap his hand away. At first, confusion lights his eyes, then realization, and finally sadness as he whispers, I'm sorry, Melina. I should have realized right away that you might be uncomfortable around me now. I'll send for Mother to take you home. He turns around and walks back toward the windowsill. I start to tear up. I honestly didn't mean to slap him. It was just a reflex. Juan, wait, will you let me explain? Juan shakes his head and continues to look out the window. I stand there for a minute longer, then walk up to him. I'm sorry, Juan. I didn't mean to slap you like that. It was just a reflex, you know? You know I would never hit you, right? Juan doesn't answer, and I'm starting to get worried. He's never given me the cold shoulder like this before. Of course, I never hit him either. I still can't believe that I hurt him like this. We stand there quietly for a while. After a bit, Juan sighs quietly and whispers, Melina, it's okay. I forgive you. It's just that I didn't consider your feelings now that you know the truth. Juan, just because I know that you're a mummy doesn't mean that my feelings have changed. To be honest, I'm happier knowing the truth instead of being constantly lied to. Juan sighs in relief, looks at me and smiles. Thank you, Princessy. You don't know how much those little words mean to me. I smile back and I decide not to say anything. I turn my head toward the window and I look out at the darkening sky. Juan takes my hand in his and I lean my head on his shoulder. Today was so perfect. Too bad it has to come to an end. No matter, I'll have tomorrow and so on to be with Juan. I love him so much. I'll do whatever it takes to free him and his family. Even if it costs me my life, it would mean setting Juan and everybody free at last from this horrible fate. After a while, I somehow fall asleep on Juan's shoulder. Well, that'll be it for today's episode. We will continue with Chapter 5 next Sunday, How to Break the Curse. So, I will see you next week. Bye!